Well, good evening, everybody. I am so happy to be here today. I think this is the first time we've come to Lakeside, and this is a very special place for me. For 8 years, I served on the school board, and I was a part of the board that cut the deal with First Tee to transform Belmont to help bring access to golf to all of the students and residents of the county. And so to see the immaculate manicured lawns and the activity, and knowing how our students from all over the Eastern Henrico, Western Henrico, all of our county are utilizing this facility and this course, it just makes my heart glad. Well, thank you all for taking time, for those in person and online, to come out to the third installment of our Fairfield Forum. Can we just come on, give Fairfield a hand, third installment? And we have a great lineup tonight with imperative and important information that is going to be a benefit to all of us as residents of the Fairfield district, as well as the county, because we have other residents from other districts here tonight. So that being said, I want to first and foremost announce the fourth installment of our Fairfield Forum will be on the 5th of December at the Henrico POW headquarters. Police Athletic League, they are now occupying what was once the Math Science Center. And so we're going to go back to that side because the goal is to come to all sides of Fairfield. So write down that date, December 5th, Henrico POW headquarters will be our fourth installment of our Fairfield Forum. We're going to begin tonight, first and foremost, with something that all of us as citizens should want to be a participatory and a part of, and that's the voting process. Research your candidate, vote your conscience, but we have with us tonight our General Registrar, Mr. Mark Coakley, and he's from the office of our General Registrar, and he's going to come tonight and he's going to give us some important information pertaining to elections. Can we welcome him tonight? Come on, Mark.
Good evening, everyone. It's an exciting time in elections. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we cut the ribbons for our in-person early absentee voting. So if you have good weather tomorrow or want to come out and wait in the line, tomorrow's the day to do it. But it's your choice, right? Early voting that we'll talk about is your choice. You get to decide in the next 45 days if you want to vote early absentee, or do you want to wait on election day and vote at your neighborhood polling place? So I want to go ahead and start with what's on our ballot. Let's see, there we go. So what's on our ballot is we have the presidential candidates, and there's quite a few of them. We have the Senate district, U.S. Senate, and your congressional district, and a constitutional amendment. The constitutional amendment is statewide. In Henrico, we have 2 congressional districts, the 1st and the 4th. Most of you are in the 4th district, but there's a few of you just in the western part that could be in the 1st district. So make sure you know who your candidates are in the 1st and 4th district. Dates to remember is that we start the voting tomorrow, which is great. We are set and ready to go. I'm going to get there around 6 a.m. and bring donuts for staff. So at 8 a.m. we'll be fully sugared up and ready to go for all the voters that want to come in and vote, be the first ones in line. October 15th is the last day to change your voter registration. Now in Virginia, we have same-day registration, which means if you haven't registered to vote by October 15th, on October 16th, you can come to the office, or your neighbors can come to the office, register to vote, and vote a provisional ballot that day through election day. So same day registration starting October 16th. You'll get to cast a ballot, a provisional ballot, and register or change your address if you need to. October 25th is the last day to register to get an absentee ballot by mail. And then October's 26th and November 2nd, we have Saturday voting. So again, the office is open 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, but we also offer 2 Saturday votings from 9 to 5, October 26th and November 2nd. And then election day, the big day, November 5th, polls are open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So there's 3 ways to vote to cast your ballot. We've talked about absentee voting, the early voting, and election day. When we get into ways to vote early, starting tomorrow, you can come into our office or 9 Mile Road, the Eastern Government Center or Western Government Center, and vote in person. You'll check in, you'll get your ballot, and you'll cast your ballot and get an I voted early sticker that you can wear for the next 45 days. We do ask that you do bring a form of identification. There's many different forms. Driver's license, your voter information notice are the top 2. So you'll check in, state your name and address. We'll repeat back your name to you so junior doesn't get a senior vote. And then we'll give you your ballot. You'll cast it and go to the booth and get your votes counted. Marking the ballot. We have a paper ballot, an optical scan paper ballot that you'll fill in the oval completely. So just don't put a check mark or an X. Try to fill in the oval as complete as you can. And then you can not vote for certain contests or candidates, right? It's your choice. So if you have undervotes, that's okay. If you get to your ballot and you see President, Senate, Congress, Constitutional Amendment, and you're saying, just not feeling it, you know, you can cast a blank ballot also. You'll get credit for voting to keep your streak alive through the last 30 years of voting, but no one will get credit for those contests because they're a blank ballot. So things to do to check in, 4 easy steps. Check in and you'll get with your ID, type of ID, receive a ballot, mark your ballot, filling in the oval, and then cast your votes. Election day, so now November 5th, you decided to wait. You want to be your traditional self because you've done this for the last 30 years and vote on election day. And you get the real I voted sticker, not that early one. Polls open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. You'll go to your neighborhood polling place, the one that you're assigned to from your voter registration information, and then you can cast your ballot at that time. That third option I mentioned about is absentee by mail. So an absentee by mail is if you want to receive your ballot by mail. Let's say you're going to be in the Outer Banks for the next 45 days or something like that, and you want your ballot to be delivered there, or you have somebody in college or something like that where you're out of town, we can mail the ballot to you. It will come in a package. It'll come in an outer envelope, the ballot, and then a privacy envelope that you'll put it back in. These ballots are prepaid postage, so you do not have to put a stamp on them. The only time you pay for voting is by using gas to drive to your neighborhood polling place. We pay for your by-mail ballots. You can put them back in the post office to mail back to our office, or if you want, we have 5 drop boxes throughout the county that you can place that ballot in the drop box if you need to. And the boxes are at the Western Government Center, Eastern Government Center, Tuckahoe and Varina Libraries, and Deep Run Recreation Center. So finally, the life of the ballot. What does the ballot do? You know, it gets printed by us. It has timey marks, so the ovals will match the timey marks. It's on thicker paper, so it's just not coming from Kinko's. It's coming from a certified printer. And you've requested your ballot. You've received your ballot by absentee, either by mail. Poll workers will examine that envelope. We ask a lot of questions on there, like your name and address, right? Real important to make sure we have that voter information and we can match it to your voter registration. So we do a thorough check of that outer envelope to make sure all the information's correct on there. We have what we call the poll workers count your ballot. What they're doing is they're reviewing the ballot information, your name and address, and if you forgot an apartment number, we cure the ballot. And that's when we'll contact you and say, hey, you left off the apartment number D, or you put A when you're really D, we do not want to reject your ballot. That's the last thing we want to do, is reject the ballot. So we'll call you and ask you to come in and cure the ballot. Make sure it has all the correct information on there. And then afterwards, after election day, the ballots are all sent to the clerk of court's office. So at that time, they are sealed and stored for 22 months in case there's a recount or a contest. Some of us may know about recounts, so had them in the past. All votes are tabulated on election night, and the ballots are received for pre-processing, and then on election day, that's when they're counted. So I think I've reached the end. Where are we ready to vote? Do we just want to go to the election office tonight? I have the keys to get us in if we need to. So at that point, I want to thank you all. If you have any questions, yes, ma'am. Sure thing. Ballot measures that are specific to Henrico. First of all, Virginia, we like to do things uniform. If you order a Big Mac here in Henrico, it should be the same Big Mac you order in Wise County, right? So we are uniform across the state. All 133 localities have optical scan paper ballots. So they are secured in the local registrar's office through our ballot box chain of custody, and then they are printed and then given out to the voter ID, acceptable forms of ID, put in the ballot machine, and then stored afterwards. Oh, yes, so the sample ballot, this is a sample ballot of in the 4th Congressional District. You'll have President, U.S. Senate. In Virginia, your congressional district, and in Henrico, we have the 1st and the 4th, and then the constitutional amendment. So that's all the contests that you'll see on your ballot. It came by the General Assembly, and what it is, it's a form for tax relief for, I think, veteran families. We will have pamphlets and posters in our office for absentee voting and at your precinct explaining the constitutional amendment. But it's from the General Assembly for tax relief. Other questions? Great.
Before you leave, can you speak to the safety of the post office as far as mail-in ballots? And also, can you assure the residents of the security of the drop boxes?
Sure thing. That's a great question, so thank you. So the security of the ballots, we have them, we have what we call chain of custody. We know exactly how many ballots we ordered for absentee, by mail, and on election day. It's a certain percentage of the registered voters in the precinct. For in-person voting, it's ballot on demand. So we don't have ballots floating around our office. If you vote early, say tomorrow or next Thursday, you will give your name and address. We will print a ballot just for you with your candidates on there. And it'll have your precinct name. You will then fill out that ballot that was printed just for you, ballot on demand, and then put it in the scanner. We have 5 drop boxes that you will come from if you requested a ballot by mail. The good news is we have the Sanston Distribution Center, so it's not going to Roanoke or Greensboro or Pittsburgh. Your ballot goes to the Sanston Distribution Center from your home there and then to our office. They are secure. We are in contact with them daily. We have met with the postmaster of Lakeside. That's where we'll get our ballots from. They are delivered to the Lakeside Post Office, and then General Services, our department governments, local government will pick up the ballots, 2 people signing off on them through the postmaster, and then bringing them back to our office for us to count. The 5 drop boxes have 24/7 camera security looking down on there, so if you go to a drop box, wave at us. We're watching during the day and night. 4 of the 5 are 24/7. The libraries, Western and Eastern Government Center. Deep Run Recreation Center may be, from sunrise to sunset, something like that, whenever the facility's open. But Tuckahoe Library, Verina Library, Eastern Western Government Center, drop boxes there 24 hours a day, security on those drop boxes. So we trust the mail. I just sent my father-in-law a birthday card, so I'm hoping he gets it. I trust the mail. He's going to get that card next week. And I trust the post office that if you request a ballot by mail, you're going to get that ballot and it's going to come to us for us to count. With the drop boxes, I'll say one more thing about the drop boxes. You hear what they call ballot harvesting, or people bringing in more than one ballot. Remember, you requested that ballot. Your voter registration is checked when we issue the ballot and checked on that envelope when you drop it back off to us. Now, you may bring your spouse's ballot or your child's ballot or your grandparents' ballot to the drop box. You can bring in more than just your own, but all of those ballots have been verified as residents and citizens of Henrico County, registered voters, and we check that with the information on the outer envelope. Not the inner envelope, because that's the secrecy ballot, right? We don't want to tie the ballot to your name, but that outer envelope will have all the information on there.
Second question, are there any ways that people can participate in this process other than voting, meaning can they volunteer with the election through the registrar's office?
Yes, we are always asking for volunteers. In fact, it's really not volunteers. It's we pay you on election day as officers of election. We lead the region in the amount of pay. It's a good for a pair of shoes, $200. So you'll get that shoe money for you for Christmas. We make sure that you can work in your neighborhood polling place, or if you want to work a surrounding polling place, you can. It's where we need the most help, but we are always looking for volunteers. And we try to pay you before Thanksgiving. That's always my goal. That election day is November 5th. We have 1,200 poll workers that we need for Henrico County, and get that checked by Thanksgiving.
Last question, is there a way to track to see if your vote has been received if you mail it in?
Yes, you can track your ballot. If you remember when you mail out envelopes or you see the ballot, it has that orange barcode on the outer envelope. The post office is tracking that. And through the state website and our website, you can click a link saying track your ballot. And it'll tell when you've mailed it to the Sanston, when they've scanned that barcode and sent it to Lakeside, when Lakeside scans that barcode and sends it back to our office. So there is ways to track your ballot. You can follow the ballot from your home back to our office if you do it by mail. If you put it in one of the 5 drop boxes, it's not getting scanned by the post office, but you will see that you will have voter credit as the ballot has been received through that state board website.
Any more questions for our registrar? If not, come on, let's give him a hand. Thank him. Oh, one more, all right, one more. Let her use the mic so everybody knows.
Sign up to be a poll worker, but I found the answer.
Okay.
So to sign up to be a poll worker, you can go to the state website, the Department of Elections, elect.virginia, or our own website has, do you want to be a poll worker? Click on this link and we'll send you all the information you need to be that poll worker for your neighborhood precinct.
Thank you so much. Well, let's give him a hand. Thank you, Mark, so much for that. All right, we're going to move expeditiously. Next, we have our Assistant Director of our Department of Public Works, Ms. Todd Urey. He's going to give us some great information pertaining to sidewalks, roads, pedestrian improvements, the Wilkerson Road Bridge update, and our Fall Line Trail update. Come on, let's give him a hand as he comes.
Good evening. Todd Ure, Assistant Director of Public Works. It's unfortunate that I have to lead my conversation this evening with a topic of pedestrian safety. We've tragically lost 10 members of our community in pedestrian and bicycle crashes last year. We're already at 9 this year, and we still have a quarter to go. So while my department is responsible for helping improve the built environment to help make our roads safer for motorists, pedestrians and cyclists, it's important as motorists to not drive distracted or speed. It's important as pedestrians to make sure you're visible, as well as cyclists, make sure you follow the rules of the road and are aware of your surroundings. And our friends in police are active in this campaign to raise awareness. They're also helping with the education piece as well as the enforcement piece. My focus this evening is going to be on the built environment, the infrastructure that we, Public Works, are responsible for. But before I go off this slide, I will point out our WOA campaign that we do in conjunction with police. Most of y'all either had the opportunity to grab a vest when you came in, or if not, feel free to grab one, or if you already have one and want to give some to friends and neighbors. I think right now we're up to about 10,000 we have distributed across the county through various events, and we have constant orders for more. So at a minimum, that helps with the visibility piece. So if you're out walking or your family's out walking, it's important to make sure you're visible. So the WOA campaign is ongoing. And we have a video. There's a link at the bottom that's on the police website where you can get some more information. And it's something that we're very, very proud of that has taken off as well as it has. Moving on. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. That is a valid request, being the owner of 4 dogs. And this time of year, we're often walking them in the dark. I like that suggestion. I'm looking at Beth, our PR expert over there, to see if that's something we can look at.
So, right, so we're, yeah, I like that idea. Actually, just today, So just today, our team was actually discussing this campaign and what kinds of things we want to add to it. I was actually online literally this afternoon looking at some other things that we can order in addition to the vest, so thank you for the suggestions. We do have other things that we're looking at, things like flashing lights, maybe dog collars. I like the bandana idea. We do want to make sure that it's something reflective. That's kind of the key to it. But I really like those ideas, so thank you for that. If you have any more ideas on that, please feel free to find me at the end or something like that. I'll be here till the end of the meeting. So yeah, we're definitely looking at other options. If you have anything, please let us know.
I personally like that suggestion, so thank you. So this is a brief snapshot of where we are. It seems like there's a lot of sidewalk and trails going in, and that there are, and we already had more sidewalk in some parts of the county than the other. Fairfield has a fair amount, but there's always room for more. Keep in mind that we have about 1,400 miles of roadway in the county, so it's kind of a drop in the bucket relative to our needs. We recognize that. We meet constantly with our leadership and with Reverend Cooper and the other board members to figure out how we can do more faster, and that's an ongoing conversation that we take very seriously and are working on daily. I probably not exactly right on some of these numbers. I kind of counted the bus shelters on my fingers based on how many have been installed since I've been here, because when I started dealing with transit about 20 years ago, we had a grand total of 2 shelters in Henrico County. So we're slowly increasing, but we've been very successful in getting grant money to add more. Same with sidewalks, same with trails, same with crosswalks and ped signals. I don't have a number for the crosswalk and ped signals because we don't really inventory them, but we know pretty much everywhere we have a signalized intersection, whether it's on a county road or VDOT road, ultimately we need to work on getting a pedestrian crossing there. The other thing we're working on is mid-block crossings and having more than just a crosswalk in the middle of a road with no lights. So we're working to add the appropriate lighting at many of those crossings, as well as adding additional crossings. Because right, so Reverend Cooper made a good point. So a lot of the roads, most of the roads in the county are maintained by Henrico, but a lot of the big roads, so where we're standing, Hilliard Road, actually behind us, is maintained by VDOT. Brook Road is maintained by VDOT. Staples Mill is maintained by VDOT. Broad Street, on and on. So those actually are the roads where we're having the most pedestrian fatalities, simply because that's where most of our activity center, or a lot of our activity centers, where people walking, our transit routes tend to be focused on those busier roads. So those are high priorities for us. We're working with VDOT to try to make them a bigger priority for them and to try to get things done quicker. We actually have a lot of funded projects on those roads. They just move a little bit slower sometimes just because of the procedures that VDOT has, and we're actually taking over managing some of those projects to see if we can deliver them quicker. So I won't have the opportunity to go over everything happening in the county, or much less Fairfield District. As I said at Reverend Cooper's first meeting, I think there's probably more active projects in Fairfield right now than every other district in the county. Not that we're keeping count, but just because of where we're located, it's kind of I guess, ground zero of a lot of things happening. So just a few snapshots here. We had an existing crosswalk at Henrico High School. At the first meeting, there was a lot of concerns raised about that wasn't a safe crossing, motorists weren't stopping, so we've added a lit pedestrian crossing, but we're going to do a safety study, which I have a slide on that coming up, where we're going to further evaluate that location as well as the rest of Azalea Avenue to see if we need to do additional things. Right down the street from here, we did a connecting sidewalk kind of across from Bryan Park between where the Fall Line Trail is coming in, which I'll also touch on briefly, down to the city of Richmond to make it easier to get down to Bryan Park. Another project that is under design, I think right now we have about 5 projects mostly in Fairfield District on LeBourbon Avenue that are under various stages of design. So this is just one example, but there's, like I said, 4 more. We also got a federal grant, $6 million this year to make a safer pedestrian crossing across I-64 in Laburnum from White Oak up to the other side. Another project under design is Laburnum Avenue's sidewalk down between Mechanicsville Turnpike and Harvey Road. We have Harvey Road striping we just put in that functions as both a bike lane and as well as a refuge for pedestrians. And a couple future projects coming up. We have bike lanes planned in a number of locations, including Dumbarton Road down here. We have one up at Virginia Center Commons area, connecting over to Magnolia Ridge. We're working, and it'll be a phased project to add some bike lanes on Mountain Road and Wilkinson Road. And I'll touch on Wilkinson Road project with the bridge replacements in a couple minutes. A couple projects that are currently under construction and should hopefully be moving quicker than they have been. Creighton Road will be anticipated to be completed this spring, and Richmond Henrico Turnpike South. So that's from south of Azalea Avenue down to Laburnum Avenue. We just gave notice to proceed for Verizon to relocate utilities this week, so they are going to be about 6 months, and then as soon as they're done, we will be going to construction. So we'll be advertising that for construction early part of next year. And that will include a trail on one side and a sidewalk on the other side, just like the northern piece. Another sidewalk project coming soon in conjunction with the bridge replacement would be Magellan Parkway. That'll have a trail on one side, sidewalk on one side. That will be connecting to future Green City, which Mr. Emerson will touch on briefly when he's up next. That project should be going to construction at some point next year as well. We have a number of pedestrian crossing projects, too numerous to mention here, but I will point out one in the far end of Fairfield District down at Kings Ridge in Laburnum. We'll be installing a traffic signal there, adding bus shelters, and putting ped crossings in at that location, as well as on Brook Road. We'll have, if you're up VCC area, you have a 6-lane road and nowhere safe to cross. And we've had pedestrian fatalities up there in the past, so we're working. We actually took over the project from VDOT to add pedestrian signals at all of those crossings at the VCC area. So touch briefly on transit and what we're working on that front. I mentioned the shelters. So we've been partnering with GRTC. We have some congressional funding as well as other funding options, and we're going to be installing roughly 50 bus shelters and probably that many benches and trash cans across our busiest stops in the county. Many of them, again, are going to be on our busy roads like Laburnum, like Broad Street, and now we have service on Brook Road Another initiative, I go back to the Azalea Avenue study. That's getting underway currently. Probably this fall we will have an online survey where we want to get feedback from the community. So if you live or use Azalea Avenue, be on the lookout for that. We want to hear your feedback on what are the issues as you see them. Is it difficulty crossing the road? Is traffic going too fast? Do you want more sidewalks? Do you want bike lanes? What are your concerns? And that will be all of Azalea Avenue, all the way down into the city, and we'll be working with the city as well. And then once we get input from the community, we will be working on some recommended improvements and come back out to the public in the spring with recommendations, and then we'll move directly into programming some projects. Easy ones first, ones that will take funding and design would come later. Mentioned briefly the Fall Line Trail. So for those that don't know about the Fall Line, it's a 42-mile trail connecting Ashland to Petersburg through the heart of Henrico, through downtown, across the James River, and through Chesterfield all the way down to Petersburg. We're in the lead on that, not that it's a race, but we've opened our first section. It's a very small section down crossing over from Bryant Park, and then VDOT's constructing a piece right now in the northern part of the county from Woodman Road up to connect to Hanover. So we're going to be under construction with the remaining 6 sections of our trail in 2025. Hopefully everything will be completed. Some of the phases will be completed next year as well. The bigger ones will probably be into 2026. So by probably the middle of 26, you'll be able to walk, run, ride your bike all the way from Bryan Park to town of Ashland if you're so inclined. You can do it in pieces, you can do it all at once. It will be relatively flat, it will be very scenic, and it will run through the middle of Fairfield District. All 7.5 miles in Henrico are located right here. So picking up from Lakeside Avenue at the old Bank of America, which will be a trailhead with restrooms, water fountains, up through Lakeside, crossing the street kind of right behind us here, and then going up Brook Road, crossing Parham, and then going up the old trolley line, which originally was called the Trolley Line Trail, up all the way up to Hanover. So beautiful trail. It's a high priority for us in the board, and you look on the slide, you'll see the well-dressed gentleman in the middle at our ribbon cutting for that first section this summer. I believe it's pretty warm that day. So another project I want to hit on real quick. If you live, yes, we have a question.
The Fall Line Trail, how much habitat loss are we going to be seeing because you want to put a trail in there, like so that? Like,
yes. I can't speak for the sections in the city and in Chesterfield because they haven't really been designed yet. What I can say for Henrico section, where the number of trees we're cutting down is minimized simply because the lakeside section, we are going through an area that had been previously cleared for utility work, so we're using that utility easement that had already been cleared and has to stay cleared because of the infrastructure under the ground. When we're running along Brook Road, minimum, because we're mostly in VDOT right-of-way. When and on Hilliard, we're actually not cutting down trees, we're narrowing the road and putting the trail where one of the lanes of traffic used to be. When we get up to the power lines, there are no trees, it's cleared by Dominion Power. So what I can say, we went into the alignment for Henrico piece, which I personally walked every inch of, to minimize impacts to the environment. We're in floodplain, but we have to do our floodplain studies to make sure we're not causing any increase in flooding. In many respects, we're reducing flooding by the work we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
So good question, thank you for that. And we actually inventoried every tree within the 30-foot perimeter of where our trail's going to go. So if you want an exact number, I can get with you afterwards and get that information to you. So real quick, Wilkinson Road Bridge. Anybody that has been inconvenienced by the road closure, it seems like it's been going on for a while, we apologize. But there's a video online. You can look at the construction with the drone. It's pretty cool. This is an area I think we actually probably took from that video. But good news is it's a little bit ahead of schedule, and it should be open back to traffic by this coming May. Fingers crossed, if we have a mild winter, maybe sooner. There'll still be work going on out there, but it'll be back open to traffic. So good news. Yes. So this was 3 very old box culverts, one of which was failing. We had done some minor repairs to it. We actually pulled out those culverts and are replacing them with actual structures, bridge structures, and raising the entire road up so that the road will not flood when we get heavy rains going forward. So as inconvenient as it is during construction, ultimately it's going to be a much better roadway to use. We're also adding wide shoulders so that we have people that bike through there, you'll be able to ride safer on a bike, and you can use the shoulder for walking. And then I think I mentioned earlier, we have a Wilkinson Road study where we're going to be adding some more pedestrian and bike infrastructure along Wilkinson in phases, so this will already be in place through this section. Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, thank you. Will some of the plans be from that culvert there, be from there to Brook Road? There should be a sidewalk or something going from that point.
So, yes, sir, good question. Our focus is to Chamberlain initially. We would love to get to Brook Road, and there are sections west of Chamberlain that we have the opportunity to add for some infrastructure. The challenge we have is that underpass under 95. It's very tight. It's a VDOT facility. The best thing we can do is hope that bridge is determined to be structurally deficient by VDOT, and then when they rebuild it, we will make sure it gets built wider so that we can add the walkways and bike lanes underneath of it. But until that happens, we can't get all the way to Brook Road. But we can go on either side of it. So, yes, sir. Question.
First of all, I'm glad we're going to get a little speed up on the Wilkinson Road build-up. But as far as the buses coming into the county now, on Brook Road, will there be any bus shelters?
Yes, sir.
Coming up toward Parham?
Yes, sir. So, good lead into my next slide. Brook Road bus service. Right now, it runs up to Reynolds Community College. So it comes up from Azalea where it used to end, comes up to Reynolds, turns around, goes back. Starting October 21st, it's going to run all the way to Virginia Center Commons, and then turn around there with the opportunity to, if growth on the Hanover side of the line continues, we could keep going towards Ashland. But with that, we will be adding shelters, benches. Right now we're working with St. Joseph's Villa to add a shelter in front of their facility across from the Walmart, which is much needed. If you drive by there any given day, you'll see some shopping carts, trash. Anytime we put those infrastructure in, we add trash cans. And so that's happening right now. As soon as we can get the easement worked out with St. Joseph's Villa, and they've been very cooperative and great partners on this, then that'll probably be the first shelter you'll see. The rest of the way, we will be following up with shelters and benches. When you do a new route, you want to let it kind of settle in a little bit, see where people are using it, see if you need to adjust to stop. You don't want to go ahead and put a shelter in if you then have to pick it up and move it 100 feet, right? So yes, that will be a priority corridor for getting shelters and benches and trash cans. So yeah, here's our slide on this extension. We're very excited about it. I've been working with GRTC for a number of years on getting this service. It will be a great asset to the VCC and the redevelopment up there, as well as this whole Brook Road corridor. So between the Fall Line Trail coming along a section of Brook, transit service coming, I think you'll see some new life coming on some of the sections of Brook Road that maybe need a little bit of a refresh. Question?
Is the bus service free?
Bus service is still free. In fact, I'm on the board of directors along with two of our other Henrico County Board of Supervisors, and we had a board retreat that went on for hours and hours on Tuesday of this week. And the topic we talked about was how do we keep expanding the service across the region between the microtransit, the local route extensions, and still keep the service free, because it is a priority. We found out during COVID that essential workers rely on transit to get to and from work. And while transit ridership dipped a little bit during COVID here, it dipped more elsewhere across the nation, and many transit agencies are still struggling to get the service and the ridership they had back before COVID. What we found in Richmond is the ridership now is higher than it's ever been in the history of GRTC. We were over 10 million riders last year, which is a huge accomplishment for a transit agency and for a region this size. So it's been a great success story. Other transit companies around the nation are looking to see what are we doing to make it so successful. They're coming here and meeting with us to see, why does transit work here so well where it's failing in other places? And it's partly because it's a free service, but the goal is to fund that with sources outside of your normal taxpayer dollars. So you're not, for the large part, you're not subsidizing the free rides. We're looking for grants. We're looking for other funding sources beyond your tax dollars. So with that, the last slide I have is the word on the street. So all the things I couldn't talk about, or all the things I mentioned that you want to learn more about, Beth diligently puts in the word on the street every month. If you have not signed up for that, please do. You can see her wherever she is with her bright pink jacket back there, and she'll get you signed up. So otherwise, I'll take any further questions and then turn it back.
Well, I have a couple, let them ask. Thank you. I live on Woodman Road, and I understand that there is going to be a partial sidewalk from school to school, but the shoulders on Woodman Road are really bad for people walking. I, for one, fell in the road one day, and a car was coming. Of course, she stopped because it was just so unlevel. And I just wonder if any interest has been expressed in, if not sidewalks, at least some substantial shoulder, because kids walk sometimes, not just between the two schools, but beyond. And I'm really interested in that because it's walked by people, but you can't walk on Woodman to get to another neighborhood without. It's a little bit dangerous.
So you're talking about the section of Woodman
Between
Hilliard and Cam. Yes.
Yes.
That's a very challenging section. Yes, ma'am. I used to live down here, and it's very challenging to walk. We do have a sidewalk project under design that will be extending sidewalk south of Parham, but it will be down to Trevette, where Maud Trevette Elementary is. That's the first piece. We can do the other pieces in segments. Our first focus right now is the section of Woodman from Parham to Mountain. That's a project under design now, which will have a sidewalk on one side, a trail on the other. And the goal is then combine that with a project to get us across Parham, down to Trevette, and then we'll start working on this section.
So-
What we can do in the meantime, however, if there's shoulders that are just rutted or whatever, we can certainly do shoulder repairs that are, not a full sidewalk, but at least make it safer.
At least a space that's wide enough that you do not have to stand in the road. It places to walk. It really needs to be assessed.
We'll certainly
I
take
appreciate
that under consideration, and where we have right of way, we can certainly look to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
May I piggyback onto that? I live on the 2100 block of Ginter Street. It is the main thoroughway for many streets around me because we've got a Valero on one corner and a Domino's on the other. And the people who like to speed, and there are lots of them, and those blankety-blank loud cars, okay, they like to cut through Greenway, Hermitage Road, and fly up the 2100 block of Ginter Street. And to that, we have many elderly people, and they would like to get out and walk. And I think all these sidewalks you're showing us are gorgeous. We don't have any. And there is a healthcare worker who comes to a family on Nelson, and they are walking this poor old man and woman up and down, say, Hermitage, which is very dangerous, or Nelson. And we've been around a long time. I think it would be nice if someone would take a look at that area.
All right.
And the kids, I gotta say one more thing. The children waiting for the buses, the school buses on Hermitage Road, they're either standing in someone's yard or in the dirt. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Get with me after the meeting. I'll get some more details from you. But what I can say generally, again, just keep in mind how many miles of roads we have and how many sidewalks we don't have on our busiest roads. So the priority is focus on those first, and then move to the lower volume roads. Not that the sidewalk isn't needed there just as much, but most of our safety challenges with the people getting run over by motorists are on the Parhams, the Laburnums, the Staples Mills, the Brooks. So that has to be kind of our number one priority, but the rest of the roads we'll work on getting to them as quick as we can.
So thank you very much for this evening. And we're hearing a lot of good information. We were definitely glad to hear about the traffic survey. I believe I'm a member of our community, got a letter. And I'm with the Meadowwood Community Preservation and Improvement Association.
We have your contact information, and we will.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Terrell Hughes sent some information to Ms. Webster this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Essentially telling her about the status.
Absolutely. And the concern I have is once the traffic survey is completed and it is determined that the traffic has increased to include the tractor trailer traffic that's coming to and from Amazon, what is the county options at that particular point to slow that traffic down?
Slowing traffic is a challenge on all of our roads. It's a combination of things. It's a combination of engineering, which is what we're responsible for. It's a combination of enforcement, and it's a combination of either restricting or discouraging trucks from using it. Sometimes it's a matter of communicating with the with if it's particularly business, if it's an Amazon and we can demonstrate they're from Amazon, then we can work.
They're from Amazon.
Yeah. So we have contacts there, so we can certainly make those calls. We'll get her over there next.
I'm also from Meadowwood. I'm Dorothy Webster, by the way.
Hi.
You showed a slide that indicated that Verizon had been given
Yes.
permission to start their work. The only thing I want to know is that means that's the beginning of the expansion of that portion of Richmond Henrico Turnpike. Is that correct?
That's the last piece of the utility relocation before we can actually start the road construction. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, will there be any road closure and will the community be notified? Last time they worked on expansion up near Azalea, we weren't notified. They just closed Hummingbird and we didn't have a clue.
So no, traffic will be maintained along Richmond and Henrico the entire time. If there's any detours on the side streets, which there may be, and I'm looking back at Letitia Hinton, who's our project manager, and see if she knows any specifically. But yes, any closures that are necessary will be communicated, through all of our channels, and we can certainly reach out to the individual neighborhoods in advance as much as possible.
Ms. Webster, they haven't presented any specific closures to any side streets at the time. But however, if you do have any issues, of course you have my number. You can definitely contact me and we can make sure that it's settled and done properly.
I think we have one over here.
Well, and Todd, if you don't mind if I add to that, I want to let people know that there's a lot of new communication methods that are happening this year from Public Works and Public Utilities. I am their PR person. I am their first dedicated PR person, and I just started in January.
And we appreciate her.
Which means all of these things, like word on the street, that just started in March. We have a Facebook page now. We have a Twitter/X page. I really, really encourage everyone to follow those or sign up for the newsletter. I check those every single day at work. So like if you message the Facebook page, if you message the Twitter page, I'm going to see it. If you get the word on the street and you have a question about something and reply to that email, it's going straight to my inbox. I am the person that will read that, and trust me, I am not afraid to walk right over to Todd's office, to Terrell's office, to all of them, to bug them to get an answer for you, and I do not take, we don't have an answer as an answer.
She did that just twice today?
Yes, it's one of my favorite hobbies, actually. So please, please, please do those. I love hearing from you guys, and I'm happy to help.
From the Amazon plant. It's my understanding that there's a data center that's coming up where the flea market is.
Joe Emerson will speak to that when he gets up here.
Okay.
Finally.
Yes. I just need to know an update on the traffic light at Aberdeen and Crown Road.
So again, VDOT section of road, we are still working on that full interchange study with them. That's moving way slower than we want it to. That's being looked at as part of what does that interchange need to look like, what does it need to change to be safer, and part of that will be the surrounding connecting roads, including Aberdeen. So stay tuned. I don't have a better answer right now because we're relying on VDOT to help us with that.
Can we thank Todd for all that information? Thank you, Todd. We want to next bring our Director of Planning and Community Development, Mr. Joe Emerson. He's going to give us an update on a lot of great things. Mr. Emerson.
Thank you, Reverend Cooper, and welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm happy to be here. Reverend Cooper has asked me to go over some of the active development in, I'm sorry, usually this is out in front of me. He's asked me to go over a lot of the active development that's going on in Fairfield. And you heard from Mr. Ure, he's very accurate. The fact that Fairfield is really, I believe, the busiest district in the county. So what I'm going to do tonight is just quickly go over some of the active development proposals in the district and things that you may be seeing. Before we get into specific projects, I want to give you just a quick overview of the development process and how it works in Henrico. First, you have a land use and a rezoning process. As part of the rezoning process, staff does evaluate consistency with the 2026 plan. We look at the context of surrounding development to determine how to mitigate potential impacts, consider development trends in the area, and work to determine the general layout and quality commitments for the development. That process does result in a staff report, which is presented to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors through the public hearing process. Community meetings are also an important part of that process to allow additional input from nearby residents and other stakeholders in the community. Once it goes through that process, it gains approval, it moves into the subdivision and plan and development process, which is where you get into detailed plans, which are routed to all the departments in the county for comments and the detailed engineering that must occur. After it gets through that process, you move into the building permit and construction phase, which is when you actually see it coming out of the ground. And now we'll move into a few of the active development projects. The first one that I want to touch base with you on is the Glenwood redevelopment. And this is something that the county has worked on for some time. I'm sure all of you are familiar, or many of you are, of those apartments and the aging of them and the situation that they found themselves in. This rezoning was requested to allow the redevelopment of this apartment community into a mixed-use development with residential and commercial uses. The existing development includes over 24,000 square feet of commercial and almost 300 residential units. The rezoning would allow up to 950 dwelling units, and they'll include up to 555 multifamily rental units, both age-restricted and non-age restricted. In the first phase of the development, the applicant has limited the number of age-restricted units to 175 and the number of non-age restricted units to 250. Phase 1 would also allow a maximum of 140 townhouses north of East Laburnum Avenue. So this project will come in phases, and of course it does include the demolition of the existing apartment complex. The next request that I'm going to go over is part of Rivermill, the Rivermill community. It is along Woodman Road, and this request recently rezoned over 8 acres from A1 to RTHC with some proffers that are consistent with the Rivermill community. This rezoning was approved by the Board of Supervisors at their September 10th meeting. A maximum of 60 townhome units accessed via Woodman Road extension would be allowed. And you'll notice too, if you see the power line, that is the fall line trail that will be coming through the development. Now, in order for you to fully understand this project is adjacent to one you may have noticed that's coming out of the ground now. That project includes 82 three-story townhomes, and it's located on the south line of Woodman Road. The fall line trail comes directly through the center of these 2 townhome developments. One thing to note for both these projects, again, is that they will be developed along the old power line easement, along with the fall line trail. This development was recently deferred by the Board of Supervisors. It's currently pending. The request is to amend proffers to allow for development of 3 new single-family units. It has drawn quite a bit of interest from the Maplewood Farms subdivision community. This property was formerly listed for recreational use, but had remained unimproved. This request was deferred by the board to the October 8th meeting in order to allow for the developer, or the requester in this case, to refine that request. So we're anticipating some improvements to that. If not, it will probably be deferred again. This is the case that came up just a second ago. This is the former flea market site. It's BWS Enterprises. This request would rezone 27 acres from B3 Business District to M1C Light Industrial District as part of a larger development. The additional land this would be added to is already zoned for these intended uses, which of course is industrial. The rezoning would allow data center, office, and light manufacturing uses on the subject property. Something to keep in mind here is this property is currently zoned unrestricted B3, which is our highest commercial category in the county. I believe that rezoning probably occurred sometime in 59 or 60 with the overall county rezoning. The only difference with this request is in B3, in order to do data centers, everything has to be fully enclosed within the building. The generators, the cooling facilities, things like that. So the applicant has requested this rezoning. It has met with quite a bit of interest from the surrounding neighborhood. I would note that this has been deferred to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting to allow the applicant time to revise the project based on input from staff and the community. An additional community meeting has been scheduled for this project on October 1st at Henrico High School at 6:30 p.m. I would encourage all of you that are interested to attend that meeting. That is a developer community meeting. Again, it's October 1st, Henrico High School at 6:30 p.m. I am anticipating the applicant to significantly revise their request prior to the October PC meeting. Hopefully some of those details will be forthcoming. We don't have any additional information at this time other than what is in our staff report. We haven't received it, but I would anticipate some changes. Yes, ma'am, do you have a question? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Yes, ma'am. Well, the property is the question is, who is the company that's making this proposal? Property is across from Amazon, and I believe the comment was it's pretty much a bottleneck now. The company is DC Blocks. It's a data center company that is similar to QTS in the eastern end of the county. They build buildings that house data centers for other entities that they lease to. What they're proposing right now is a 10 megawatt center. However, you know, in their plans, they would intend to have more data centers on the property. But it is across from Amazon. I would note to you that data centers do not create a great deal of traffic after they are constructed. But yes, it is across from Amazon.
Health
Yes.
risks. I'm sure there are health risks with everything that's emanating out, but are they an American company?
DC Blocks is an Atlanta-based company, yes, ma'am.
Georgia?
This is the only one that's been proposed thus far. The property directly across from Amazon is already zoned correctly. It's a by right use on that property. It's a by right use on the B3 property. It just has some different development parameters that are required, which the company was asking relief for or from in order to develop. So they have added some property to this. That is one thing that they have submitted to us. They have a 5-acre parcel that is north of the storage facility that they have added to the property. Some of the BTS property is already zoned appropriately. It's already zoned M1, so the use is allowed, and they can develop as they propose on that property with the generators being contained in enclosures outside of the main building and with the air cooling on top of the building. Yes, ma'am, I can't debate that right now. The health risks are handled by DEQ and the State Corporation Commission, if there are health risks. I wouldn't even use that term. You may believe they're health risks, the reviewing agencies don't agree. So, yes, ma'am.
You said DC Blocks is part of a larger development coming on this space, right?
DC Blocks is the company.
So they're going to have all of the developments on that acres of land.
That's possible, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you going to talk about the intersection of Chamberlain and Wilmer? My question is, will the post office remain after all those townhouses are built?
Yes, ma'am, I've got that project. I couldn't answer the question on the post office. To my knowledge, it's not going away. Yes, sir.
Thank you again. This seems to be a hot item here.
Yes, sir.
And Meadowwood is really concerned about this project. Now, I just need to know, I guess a lot of us would like to know, are we crossing our T's and dotting our I's at this point? And I say that because the county manager has already said coming data center revenue offers Henrico opportunity to do something really exceptional. So it sounds like to me, just reading the Henrico Citizen newspaper, that the county manager has already made his mind up about the data center. Thoughts?
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir. I will say we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
Thank you very much.
I think if you look at our approvals compared to other communities, and I think the board would agree, I think Ms. Whitehead made this statement at the board meeting when the board approved the latest rezoning at White Oak Tech Center area, that reviewing what we had done as a staff compared to what other communities had done, we far surpassed everyone else in our diligence. The county manager has not weighed in on the rezoning of this property. He normally does not do that. I think what he said in terms of what the data, I know you are, and I'm getting there to you. I'm not disputing that you didn't quote him. And he did say that, but what he is talking about is revenue from the data centers that are already approved, not necessarily the ones that are proposed here.
But I'm certain that revenue is going to be included as well.
I would think, yes, sir, if they're approved, if they're approved.
The concern that we have over in Meadowwood is the noise pollution.
Yes, sir.
And I think hopefully with this October 1st meeting, some modifications have occurred that's going to diminish some of the noise pollution from the data center.
Yes, sir. We haven't, as we've talked, we haven't as a community experienced any noise issues from the data centers. We do build into our cases the base level noise in the area, and we have a decibel level that they can't exceed, and we do monitor it. We are complaint based, but all my inspectors have noise monitors, and we monitor noise throughout the county on a regular basis.
See, our concern is this, is that although it may be within legal realms of decibels, that's going to be a 24/7 continuous noise coming from the data center.
Yes, sir.
And the noise will increase as the traffic dies down some. So overnight, we're really going to hear the noise from the data center over in our community. And
Sure.
That's our concern right now.
Sure, absolutely, and I think that's a valid concern, and that's why we measure that ambient noise level and try to make sure that that's not an issue. But at this point, I would encourage you to come to that October 1st meeting, see what the developer has to say. We haven't received any new information per se at this point. We are awaiting some. They have added that additional piece of property to their case. They have not, at this point, I believe, closed on any purchase of the additional land from NASCAR or Hillwood. That site, I would tell you, is already approved with a plan of development for another distribution center. The zoning that is on that property, and that was intended, it was approved at the same time that the original and current Amazon was approved. And there were 2 Amazon facilities originally included in that proposal. So there's already an approved plan of development for another distribution facility on that property. Yes, sir.
It's over here, because he was next.
One more question. I'll speak up. One more question.
Yes, sir.
Concerning the substation.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us a little detail about that as well?
Well, all data centers require substations. That's determined by the State Corporation Commission and Dominion Power. It's my understanding that Dominion Power has indicated with that transmission line that exists, they can provide power for a 10 megawatt data center, which is a relatively small data center. They haven't committed to being able to provide power to anything beyond that. So I think that's why possibly some of the commitments haven't come forward as far as land transactions at this point. Because if Dominion were to say we can't supply power, then I don't think that company would invest. So that's, you know, it's always a little bit of a chicken and the egg. You have to have all the infrastructure there. But that site is approved for another distribution facility. And again, it was intended at the time, Amazon had 2 facilities proposed at that location. They chose not to move forward with the second one, which was on the other side.
Over here,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in reference to, you made a comment that you weren't aware of any studies in reference to the danger of the noise. There is online studies from the CDC that actually is fairly current. It came about when it first started happening in Northern Virginia, that actually cited that there is damage when there's a prolonged sound at the decimeters that these buildings function at. Now, we were actually, I'm with Meadowwood as well.
Yes, sir.
And forgive me for shaking a little bit because of my leg, but we were instructed to go visit the site over near the airport to see what that sounded like. One day in July, my wife and I rode through there, and I don't know if you can, I don't know how to make this thing do this. We were sitting in the parking lot, and the building, I mean, we could see the building we were from.
Recording while sitting in the parking lot. 6:25 p.m. Monday, July the 8th.
And this is the type of sound that the CDC said, they studied and said that it actually is documented through the CDC that it does prolong noise like this. It affects people. It affects the emotion. They've even had heart issues behind it. It's on the CDC website.
Sure.
So again, and it's fairly recent, and we also shared that with the company when they came.
Yes, sir.
So that's a concern of ours. We live right on the city.
Yes, sir, and I understand
We're not that far from it, so we are concerned about that. We've been here over 27 years, and, you know, we're retired.
Sure.
We don't want to, you know, what's going to happen to our community? What's going to happen to our property? And I can understand and appreciate the dollars, but there's also studies that say that data centers are not supposed to be in residential areas, and they're not supposed to be near schools and churches. The proposed site that they showed us is nowhere from Henrico High School, Wilder Middle School, elementary school up the street. So all of that is an impact. I mean, we just had a deck built, and we told the guy, why would I want to sit out and hear that hum? You know, as the gentleman mentioned, when the traffic dies down, you're going to hear that. And you've already mentioned also that something we kind of knew, because they first said that it would only be, I think, 12 generators, but they really wanted 24. So again, as we expressed, we don't want it in our community.
Yes, sir. And what I would do, I would encourage you to go to the October 1st meeting. I would encourage you to participate in the public hearings when it comes to the Planning Commission and the board. What I would say to you is that I didn't say there weren't studies that didn't say there was noise from data centers. What I said is we have not experienced the issues that Northern Virginia has experienced with noise from our current data centers. And I've sent staff out. We have decibel level readings. I don't know from the noise. I've never heard the noise you just played, and I've been out there on the site myself. So I'm not sure if the noise you played was a data center or something else. There are other entities out there in White Oak Tech.
We asked the security guard where the data center was, because we had pulled into the
Yes, sir.
parking lot. he instructed us to go right around the corner.
Sure.
Walking distance, and we drove right around the
Sure.
corner, and there it was.
Sure. Well, what I can tell you is we have not received the first complaint regarding noise from a data center from anything in White Oak Tech Park. We have received some complaints from the truck traffic when they were under construction. And we've received quite a bit of complaint from lumber liquidators and the beeping of their forklifts and the trucks backing up back and forth. But we've never received a noise complaint on any of that. But that doesn't mean noise doesn't exist. It means the residents aren't close enough that they've been disturbed by it.
Well, with all due respect, I don't know that area that well, but I really didn't see homes.
Sure.
All I saw was wood and industrial.
Right. And I'm agreeing with
So
you.
it's an industrial park, so that's where we feel like a data
Sure.
center should be, not
Sure.
in our backyard.
And again, this hasn't been approved. I mean, at least the request on the B3 property. It is a use by right, as I think you were probably there when I spoke to the neighborhood at the church, or you've probably heard this, but all of the racetrack area is zoned industrial. So these are allowed uses, but we do take into account when it comes in for plans of development, the distances, the setbacks, the buffering, where things that might emanate noise would be located in order to try to get them behind other infrastructure that would deaden any type of noise. But we certainly are aware of your concerns, and they're valid. I'm not going to say they're not valid. But go to the meeting on October 1st. Definitely raise your concerns. Come to the Planning Commission meeting at the public hearing. Raise your concerns, and of course then follow up at the board. But the first step right now is to be at that meeting on October 1st when the developer presents their case again, and continue to raise your concerns. They're not falling on deaf ears. We hear you. Sure.
Mr. Emerson, speaking of truck traffic, there is a policy of environmental justice here in the Commonwealth that says you're not supposed to be piling polluting industries into the same places. And this is one of the places in Henrico County that, by all accounts, ought to have some of the worst air quality in the county, especially on race day. You have everything coming off the racetrack. You have a distribution center with hundreds of trucks in and out every day. Now you're going to have another distribution center. Now you're going to have a data center with more data centers coming. Why are we continuing to pile on onto the same communities?
I guess my response to you, Ms. Montrose, is that the land's already zoned. It's a use by right. We can't stop it. The environmental justice law you speak to applies to DEQ in the state of Virginia. It doesn't apply to local zoning.
So your comment is, just to be clear, that the policy of the Commonwealth does not apply to Henrico County.
The policy of the Commonwealth applies to the county, but the Commonwealth has to enforce that. So that's, if DEQ says it's okay, it's in their, that's in the laws that govern them.
But how is that fair when you're saying DEQ's got to stop this and all they do is issue the air permits? It's the local zoning that keeps putting the same things in the same places.
But the
and
Code of
are
Virginia,
you requiring air quality monitoring? Do we even know what the air quality is in that location?
Ms. Montrose, we've had this discussion many times. I'm not going to debate it with you tonight. DEQ covers the air quality, and you know that. Let me finish.
There are no air quality monitors, that's my question.
DEQ monitors the air quality based on their network of air quality monitors.
Where's the closest one to this site?
Closest one to this site is probably north of the site, near Ashland. There's also one down on the James River near Shirley Plantation. And I believe there's also one at the Math and Science Center on Interstate 64.
Thank you. So my question sort of piggybacks on theirs. Are there written reports about the quality of the environment that this would have an impact on the surrounding area? Are there any written, people can resource that to see? The studies have been done to say, they're talking about the noise, to say that with all of those things combined, how that's going to have an effect on the environment, that it's going to affect.
The environmental impacts of all these industries are governed by the state of Virginia. So that's taken care of by DEQ and other agencies. Okay, Department of Environmental Quality.
So where would somebody resource that information
They have a website.
to go to see, so they can see that studies have been done?
They
to protect
handle all the
the
review
people?
from an environmental standpoint, other than some of our local erosion and sediment control, stormwater management, and things of that nature. All the air quality is handled by the Department of Environmental Quality.
So that's not Henrico, that's the state?
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
So Henrico has nothing to do with it?
No, ma'am, we don't educate that. And the environmental justice law that Ms. Montrose is mentioning also is at the state level and not at the local level.
But does Henrico then use that resource to see what it is?
Yes, ma'am, they have to get those permits. They can't move forward without those permits from the state.
Because it's a really important issue for a lot
Sure,
of people.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but that's, again, a state process. If the state issues the permits, then that's out of our control.
Joe, please announce the time for the meeting on the 1st. Everybody
Sure.
wants to know the time, and then you can finish the
It is
presentation.
October the 1st at 6:30 p.m., Henrico High School. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I've got more if you want me to continue with this. All right, I wanted to touch quickly on Green City. This is a planned eco district. It's located on Fairfield. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to hold this up. I apologize. Green City is a planned eco district located between East Parham Road and the southeast line of Scott Road. This was a rezoning the board did a while back. This is a project to remodel the existing Best Products building and construct new office, retail service, and residential uses in a 17,000 square foot arena. A maximum of 2,138 residential units comprised of apartments, condominiums, townhouses, and single-family homes are to be constructed. We're proud of this. This is a very innovative and environmentally sensitive project, so we're excited about it. It will be moving forward soon, we think. We do have several road improvements associated with it that you heard Mr. Ure speak to a few minutes ago. One is the Magellan Parkway extension, and the other is the Magellan Parkway Bridge over I-95. Now, the extension is starting, I don't know if it's under construction, I believe parts of it are, July 25th, estimated date end is March 27th. And then the Magellan Parkway overpass start date is November 24th. If they're on schedule, and the end date is October 26th. Yes, sir.
Can we thank Mr. Emerson real quick for his presentation, time by time. He will be here available afterwards. I just want to say I've met with Meadowwood many times, and I continue the meeting that's coming up is one that I made sure that was requested by the community and developer. And so my planning commission and I are not aligned with a redistricting, a redeveloping, so rezoning for this. So we don't support that. And be aware that the zoning ability that they have that were prior to my becoming the supervisor. So, but I am not in support. I'm not in support of rezoning the property that's in place. Excuse me. I'm referring to this property. So understand something. White Oak is different than this particular place as it is already there. So this is what I'm speaking to for my residents. So as I'm saying, what's going to happen is I'm not going to rezone this property. I'm not in support of it. So thank you, Ms. Emerson. Come on, give one more hand.
I would like to just point everybody to the Henrico Next process for our 2045 comprehensive plan. Ms. Hartwick of my staff is in the back of the room with information on that. We do have a website that has all our studies on it. Please make sure that you do go to the correct website because it does have a few similarities with some other websites that are out there. But with that said, thank you, Reverend.
Real quick, we have two more presentations. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask a quick question. What's being built where the
Virginia Inn used to be?
Virginia Inn.
Oh, is that the former Days Inn you're speaking to?
No, it's Virginia Inn,
Virginia
Days
Inn.
Inn, I mean,
It's
originally
there
it was
on
the Days Inn.
Chamberlain and 95. That is, it's an apartment complex. It's a redevelopment project, and it's underway. It's called Helios, and I've got more specific information. If you want to catch me after the meeting, I'll give it to you. All right, about it. You're welcome.
I'm going to go to our police chief because he has another place to be. Can we recognize our police chief? Chief of police, come on up, chief. So good evening, and I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. I'm going to just talk about a couple things that are a concern to us, and just want to make sure you all are aware of what's going on in Fairfield as it relates to crime. So when Mr. Cooper took over Fairfield District, one of the things we talked about was historically, what does Fairfield look like? So it's always been historically, and again, I've been a Fairfield resident for over 30 years. Historically, Fairfield has always led the districts in violent crime. And unfortunately, one of the things Mr. Cooper and I talked about was like, we would love to get off that list of always leading in violent crime. Unfortunately, this year, we've seen, I would say, a steady issue in terms of homicides in Fairfield. So currently right now in Henrico, we have 16 homicides in the county year to date. Which is down from where we were last year. So we're starting to see a trend down. Unfortunately, of those 16, 9 of them have occurred in the Fairfield district. Now, I want to put that in some perspective. When we talk about homicides, 4 of those homicides were related to marijuana deals. 2 of those were domestic related. 1 of those was an argument, and 2 of those we have not been able to classify what the actual motive was for those homicides. So just kind of put those in perspective. It's not like there are individuals that are going around randomly killing individuals. They're known parties with each other. And these, I will say, out of six of those 9, we've actually made 3 arrests in 9 of those homicides. 3 of them, we're going to eventually make an arrest. We have really, really strong leads on those, and 3 of them we still have some work to do in order to resolve those. So I want to just kind of put that in a little bit in perspective. Overall, compared to last year, the Fairfield district is down 9% overall in crime. So it is trending down, and we're starting to see that. Men and women are working extremely hard. They're moving a lot of guns off the street, and there's still too many guns out there for us. But we're doing a really, really good job. I will say the other issue, and you all have brought this up, the way people are driving is an issue, and it's not just in Fairfield. It's an issue across the county. It's an issue across the state. I will tell you that we do tracks complaints, what we call tracks complaints. We all call in about an issue as it pertains to traffic. We will put those in the system, and we have individuals that will go out, take a look at those, write tickets need be, but we do address those. Now I can tell you, and I always be honest with people, we're never going to stop people from speeding. It's never going to happen. Now we can mitigate it, but we're never going to stop people from speeding. So we can only be in an area for a certain period of time, and there's no way we can sit there and stay at every red light or stay at every intersection. We can't do that. But we can mitigate it by being in there and hopefully trying to slow people down. Now we got to look at some other mechanisms, some other technologies that will assist us in this, because like I said, we can't have an officer everywhere at all the time. I've had people send me videos of somebody running a red light. Well, I get the video, but I mean, what am I going to do with that? I mean, I get it. They ran a red light. I get it. That happens. But we just, they look at me like, where was the officer? Well, I mean, we don't. I can ask you all, how many red lights do we have in Henrico County? That's a lot of them, a bunch of them. Yeah, and so I will say this, and this is the good thing about it. Tomorrow, myself, the City of Richmond's chief, Chesterfield State Police, we're doing a PSA tomorrow morning, particularly as it pertains to traffic crashes and speeding. So we're doing a PSA tomorrow to get the word out. One of the things I will say, we're seeing a lot more people going 90 over 100 miles an hour, and judges are putting people in jail, which is good, because we're seeing some unbelievable speeds when people are traveling. And we as a county, as I mentioned, we've had 9 pedestrian fatalities already this year, 34 traffic crashes already this year, which is way too many for us. And so we got to do some different things, get PSAs out there. The vest will help. We're trying to do all we can with that. So any ideas you all have in terms of how we can mitigate some of the things that are occurring, we welcome those. So I just want to kind of give you an idea of what you're dealing with at Fairfield. Any questions?
That is very accurate. That is very accurate. She said that's why our insurance is going up, because more people are speeding into more accidents, and so insurance companies are going up on our premiums as far as car insurance. Yes, ma'am.
Many times, hear anything going on, you hammer them behind the head and they wouldn't know.
That
Almost all phones.
That is part of the problem. We have seen that as being an issue. People being inattentive because, like you said, they have headphones on, silencers, so you don't hear a whole lot. And then a lot of times at nighttime, people are wearing dark clothing. I mean, I'm sure some people in here have almost hit somebody because they wore dark clothing walking along the roadway. And so we just got to get the word out, because these are things that can be prevented. And that's what we want. We don't want people getting killed on our roadways. Any other questions? Thank you all.
I want to, can you introduce your officers, our community officers that are here, if you could, so they'll know who they are?
Yes, sir. We have we have Q back here. I call him Q. So he's one of our community officers, and you have other officers. Terrell Parker is another community officer. These guys do a tremendous job. So again, if you all have any issues in your neighborhood, Quinn Scott, Terrell Parker are the two people to go to. So thank you. I think that for the work they do. And again, if there's anything you need, please reach out to us. We'll try to address your issue.
Can I make a comment about that officer right there?
Who, Q?
No, don't walk off yet. Don't walk off. That right there, that is a great man. He is a great man. He is head of our neighborhood watch for Lakeside, Downtown Hills, Rocky Branch. It's a big area, and he does a fantastic job, and we love you, Quentin. We love you.
Thank you so much. Listen, give us 20 minutes. We have two more important presentations. Just give us 20 minutes. I want to ask Ms. Ebony Atkins. She is the managing director of the Henrico EDA, which is the Economic Development Authority, and there's so much taking place in Fairfield, specifically this corridor. Ms. Atkins is going to take 10 minutes, and then we have our school board representative from the Fairfield District, Mr. Ryan Young. We want to hear from him, so give us 20 minutes. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Come on, Ms. Atkins.
Thank you. I will keep it brief. So I am one of the managing directors for Henrico Economic Development Authority. Yes, the clicker is here, and I can see if I can, yeah, it's working there. I'll just go to the next slide. For the Henrico Economic Development Authority, I focus primarily on business retention and expansion, so I'm going to cover some of the programs that we have to support that, to support business growth in Fairfield and throughout the county. If you are not familiar with the EDA, we work to attract new businesses, but also to support the existing businesses. We do that through 5 themes at the bottom. A lot of our work right now is focused on workforce. How do we prepare the workforce? What are the needs of existing businesses from a pipeline standpoint? What initiatives are taking place at the community college level and even at our 4-year universities throughout the region? So I'm engaged in a lot of conversations regarding talent pipeline, workforce, all of those things. And since I only have 10 minutes, I'm gonna keep it moving. One of the latest announcements we've had is the Crossings Golf Club. The EDA purchased this golf club as part of a public-private partnership. The goal here, and we work very closely with Henrico Sports and Entertainment Authority, but as you may know, tourism is a big driver of our economy. We want to attract folks to come to Henrico to spend money, to stay at our hotels and things like that, but they also have less tax burden than some other activities that can occur throughout the county. So this is an opportunity to spur more tourism, to create an elite golf course that can be used at the K through 12 level, and also we're looking to create some partnerships even with VCU. They don't have a practice course for their team there. So hopeful that that will create new opportunity throughout the county. It will be a public course, so it's not private. You don't need a membership. Anyone can use this course as well. Now, as I mentioned, supporting existing businesses includes small businesses. And I've included some logos here of many of the partners that we work very closely with to do that. The Small Business Development Center, the Small Business Supplier Diversity, that is a state entity. A lot of our work, we're working to educate businesses, to help them learn how to start a business, to create a marketing plan, learn how to price your product, and even provide some business networking opportunities so that a lot of the success of businesses really depends on the strength of their network. I'm also excited to announce the Henrico Global Business Gateway. Now this is a new initiative as well, and the spin on this is really to bring in some international companies that don't have an existing presence in the US. It's an opportunity to have them bring 1 or 2 business development folks to Henrico, and then hopefully that will lead to them having a new office place or a new manufacturing plant. But looking at some international markets and looking at established businesses, so this isn't for startups, but these are for established businesses that just don't have a presence in the US, and hoping that Henrico can be that new place for them. We try to be very nimble with our services, try to make sure that we're responding to the needs of business. One entity that I don't have mentioned here is actually SCORE, and I'll talk a little bit more about them when I talk about our pump program. But SCORE is an organization, it's a national organization that provides business mentorship, and we will be creating a Henrico Business Academy coming up next year. It will be a series of workshops so that business owners can learn step by step how to start a business, what are some of the things you need to get in place so that your business can be successful. So look for more information on that soon. And so a few of our development programs and incentives, and these are by right programs. The first is the Enterprise Zone. It is actually a state-funded program, but we also provide local funding as well to help businesses that need to improve their commercial property. And so the Enterprise Zone provides grant funding, it provides technical assistance to business owners, and also permit fee waivers for businesses. The enterprise zones are designated areas throughout the county, so you do have to check online. There is a website where you can check if you are looking to lease a property, a commercial property, or if you own a commercial property and want to make some improvements on that property, you can check the address to see if it is in fact in that enterprise zone. One thing to keep in mind with this program and the next that I'm going to discuss is that there is an application process. You do want to engage our community revitalization department before you start any improvements. So if you're looking to repave the parking lot, if you're looking for some assistance with signage, don't do any of the work until you have spoken to a county representative. So that brings me to our HIP zone, or our Henrico Investment Program. What we have done here is duplicated many of those enterprise zone benefits in other areas of the county. We have selected certain corridors that have aging buildings. We did an assessment to see where are some of the oldest commercial buildings in the county, and how can we provide some resources to those building owners so that they can improve them, so that they don't remain dilapidated. And many of them have businesses in there. They are retailers, they're restaurants and things like that, but we see opportunities where those buildings can be improved. So again, this provides grant funding. There is demolition grant if you feel as though you need to just start over and tear down the building and start fresh. There's building facade grants as well as that technical assistance, so that planning can help you work through the process of redevelopment and looking at and re-envisioning what that property could look like. Since the program's inception, we've had 26 grants, and it's led to $28 million in construction dollars. So we do ask for a better understanding of what the plan is for the building, what improvements that building owner is going to make in the building. But the goal is to increase the longevity of our commercial buildings and to improve those commercial corridors. And then the last program I'll talk about is the Technology Zone, another by right. These are all geographic. So the Technology Zone actually started in Innsbruck. If you recall, during COVID, folks were working from home, and so once COVID ended, we started to kind of get creative in thinking about how can we get folks back into the office. And so the technology zone was the goal to do that, to provide some funding, some support for businesses to improve some of the older office buildings. We are expanding this program to other areas out of the county, throughout the county. So Innsbrook might have been the test spot, but we will see the technology zones expand to other commercial areas for office use. So if you have at headquarters, software, there are a number of uses that are allowed with the technology zone, but again, it does the same thing, building permit fee waivers. And for this one, there has to be job creation. So that's another goal of us, is to make sure that new jobs are being created while we are incentivizing folks to make building improvements. And lastly, I mentioned SCORE, the pop-up mentoring program that is now award-winning. We've won national awards even for this program, an opportunity to provide technical assistance to business owners. We work with SCORE mentors. We provide what you could call office hours at the library. And so if you are a business owner or looking to start a business, or if you know someone who's looking to start a business, they can come meet with a SCORE mentor, ask questions, understand what their next steps could be. Sometimes the discussion leads to, how do you find your customer? How do I get a patent? Is this idea even a good idea? And so we wanted to make sure that this program is accessible. So we host PUMP at Fairfield Library on the second Wednesday of every month at 9:30 a.m. and then at Libby Mill Library on the fourth Wednesday of every month at 4:30 p.m. So whether it's AM or PM, you have the opportunity to meet with a SCORE mentor, to get the assistance that you need, and we will continue to expand this program as well throughout the year. Absolutely. So if that, I'll repeat it, yep. So if the Fairfield time in the AM or the Libby Mill time in the PM doesn't work for you, or maybe the day doesn't work for you, those SCORE mentors are always available. I'm available as well. You can reach out to me. We can set up a time separately to meet. We can set up a phone call as well. I do that all the time. I'm constantly meeting with business owners, trying to help you find the resources that you need for business success. That's really the goal of the EDA, and particularly my role at the EDA. And so that's all I've had. I kind of rushed through all of that, but wanted to be mindful of time as well. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Henrico just lost 1,000 jobs with the lumber liquidators, the LL Flooring closure. And that distribution center is now going to be converted by right into a 1 million square foot data center, which might hire a couple dozen people. That's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs, many of which live right here in Fairfield. And we see on the EDA website that you all are actively encouraging more data centers to move in. And it's not a stretch to imagine that rather than renovating a lot of the aging factories in Henrico, we'll see more of these data centers moving in. What's the plan for people that lose those good manufacturing jobs to data centers?
Well, lately, we've actually gotten some hopeful news regarding that lumber liquidators location. So there have been some movement there as far as a new owner of that. And it looks like they will stay in business for at least a short amount of time. So we're still trying to make sure that we're updated on where things are going with lumber liquidators. So I can't 1,000% say that those jobs are being lost just yet. There is some discussion about the purchase of the building itself, but not necessarily the shutdown of the operation. As Joe mentioned, well, I'll just say that, we continue to follow planning's guidance as far as the by right uses of land throughout the county. And so, of course, we work to attract new businesses, but we want to do that in alignment with our partners at the county.
I just wanted to ask, please, if there's anything going on in Henrico to promote employment for people with disabilities, many of whom are without work.
Yeah, so as I mentioned when I talked about workforce resources, we work with the state entity called the Department of Blind and Visually Impaired, the Department of Disabled, Blind and Visually Impaired, I'm sorry. And so we want to work with businesses so that they can assess their operation and understand where someone who might have a physical limitation or even some cognitive limitations could still find gainful employment. So we work mostly with state entities to do that, but individuals who find themselves in that situation can reach out to that organization and they will work with them to understand what are you capable of, what employers do we know in the region that could possibly provide that opportunity.
Thank you. Awesome question. Real quick before Ebony, as Mr. Young comes, I want to recognize Mr. Robert Brown. He's on our EDA. He's our representative from Fairfield. Thank you for being here, Mr. Brown. Thank you for being here.
There we go. How's everybody doing tonight? All right, thank you. I'm Ryan Young. I am your school board member for the Fairfield District. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This is a really good crowd. Y'all are informed. Y'all are asking great questions. So I definitely appreciate that. I'm going to try to zoom through this as fast as I can, but I do want to highlight a few things tonight. So on behalf of the school board and all of Henrico County Public Schools, I want to tell you that we are very excited to welcome students back this year, and today actually marks 1 month since we've been in school and school started. Our facility staff, custodians, and school-based teams worked hard this summer preparing buildings for the new school year. Staff completed projects in all of our schools, including roofing repairs, flooring, parking lot paving, routine maintenance needs, and deep cleaning of classrooms and common spaces. I think I have a few different things that we did this year. One was Radcliffe now has a digital board. That's the first one in Fairfield District. Thanks to Reverend Cooper's investment, we have digital boards, and we have 5 more coming to other schools, just approved last week. One of the other things that Reverend Cooper and his crew has done, we have a brand new playground at Arthur Ashe. We have a painting job that went on at Henrico High School. Lakeside Elementary got a sensory room. Chamberlain received a sensory room as well. Glenn Lee received a paint job. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. Wilder Middle School just got allocated for a partition. So Reverend Cooper has invested $1.2 million in the Fairfield District schools in the first 9 months. So I want to thank him for that partnership. As he continues to invest in our schools get better. We get that uplift in our community, and everything is being done right according to his plan. So I want to thank him for that, Reverend Cooper. We appreciate that so much. Next up, back to school. Transportation staff spent the summer training new drivers, reviewing safety practices, and evaluating every bus route across the county. If you have an HCP student, then you are familiar with our information system called Power School. Where bus routes are available, families can also download real-time bus app from Apple, Android mobile app store. The good news is that the number of bus drivers on staff is the greatest it has been since the pandemic. We are fully staffed, and that is due in part to a salary increase for drivers. At the end of last school year, the school board approved a starting rate of $25 an hour for all of our bus drivers. I know we're clapping, but it's really big when kids can actually get to school on time. I know my wife had a fit rushing here tonight. So imagine what kids go through when they want to get to school on time. They get up, they eat their breakfast. It's really good to be in a routine every day. That gets them prepared and gets them in the mind frame and ready to learn. So I'm thankful. Once again, Board of Supervisors came through with that as well for us, in great partnership with them. Next up, this is new for the county, is our student IDs. New this year, every HCPS student across the school division has received a student ID on a lanyard for use throughout the school year. The new student IDs are part of a multi-layered safety plan and ongoing efforts to streamline operational procedures at our schools. These IDs include the student's name, student number, but they will not include a photo. Students will scan their ID cards when getting on and off of the bus, checking out books in the library, and purchasing meals in the cafeteria. These are brand new. Every student was issued an ID card this year. This is actually my son's ID card, which says Henrico and ACE Center. But it's a security measure. We know what happened in Georgia. So this is another security measure that we have to track our kids, to make sure that the right kids are on the right campus at all times as well. And every kid has been issued this, and it streamlines everything. School buses, school lunch, library books, one card, every single time. They keep it with them throughout the day. Another new thing that we just did was we started the school year off. We ushered in the final phase of our school division's weapon scanner rollout. The scanners, similar to the ones you see in theme parks, are already in place at middle and high schools. This school year, they are also being used in every single elementary school. So every single day, our young kids walk through these metal scanners, So we ensuring that no weapons get on our campus. Last year, we had 0 guns on our campus, and we cannot say that for the year before that. So we are doing everything. Right here is Chamberlain Elementary. This is the first day of school. I'm out there watching the process happen. It's a really good process. The kids have gotten used to it already. And I get that extra level of comfort knowing that my student goes through it, and even parents go through it, every single one. If you want to get on our campus, you are also walking through those same scanners, and you have to be checked every single time. So that's a win for safety, especially, our hearts go out to those families in Georgia, but especially knowing this, having this extra layer right here is important. And it wasn't always important to elementary schools, right? So we started at high school, then middle, and then elementary, so every school has it. They even use their football games as well. So no one comes into the football games without their student IDs and without going through our scanners. So our football games are also safe. All right, now for the fun stuff, cell phone practices. We've also enhanced our cell phone practices for the new school year in alignment with the Code of Conduct. Students may not have their phones out during class time. Students must keep their cell phones out of sight in their backpacks, bags, or safe storage containers provided by the school division in each classroom. Just a quick walkthrough. Middle and high school, when you walk into class, you either have to put it in your book bag or you have to put it into a lockbox. You get that cell phone back at the end of class, so you will have it as you transition to your next class. But once you get to the next class, once again, put it in a lockbox, put it in the book bag. So we have created an environment that is cell phone free during instruction time in all of our schools. So I think that's a real big win for us. We've dealt with some of that academic loss, but when we got back from COVID, we were a little light on the cell phone use, but thankfully, my fellow board members and I, we got together, we got a cell phone policy that's gonna be consistent across the county. So when you go to each school, you will not see that cell phone out in any of our classrooms going forward, okay? Couple of announcements. This is our Parent Square app. I won't read all of this to you all, but Parent Square is our communication app. We have a 95+% rate of, what's the word I'm looking for? Reach. So 95% of the text messages that go out from schools and principals, we reach 95% of our parents right now. So this is really big. It's a great communication tool. I know I get a text, I get an email, and it's an app. But it keeps you informed on what's going on in our schools. And if you need to be reached, we can reach you, whether it's an emergency or it's just to tell you that, hey, your son or daughter had a good day in school today. We can reach you through Parent Square. And also bus routes. If the bus is coming late, you get a notification, the bus is coming late today. That way you can plan as well. So Parent Square has been a really, really good tool for us. I love it. I love it being a parent. Some of our mental health resources. So our comprehensive commitment to safety extends to students, family, and employee wellness. As part of the Henrico Cares initiative, HCPS continues to expand the school-based mental health teams and resources and is developing new partnerships with public and private mental health providers. I'll get through this quick. The first one to the left, that's called Care Solace. Offers care coordination services quickly to connect students, families, and staff to the right mental health care and or substance use treatment options at the right time, regardless of insurance and at no cost. So pretty much this is a concierge service. A lot of us, mental health is new. So if we have somebody that's experiencing a mental health crisis, a lot of times we have to go online, type in, I need a therapist or something like that, and then find your reviews and then try to pick who you need to go see. You can call this number right here and they will connect you with the right people. It takes the research out of your hands, puts it into theirs, and this is available 24/7 to all of our students, families, and staff. So this is a really big win when it comes to mental health. And then if we look to the right, that's called Hazel, which is another mental health resource, and this is for our students that are in 9th through 12th. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., they also can get the mental health support that they need, and that's offered to them free of cost, no matter if you have insurance or you don't. So these are two really big wins on mental health that we have initiated this year. So can we give a hand for that? Because mental health is serious. My next slide here is going to talk about All Together Tuesdays. This past Tuesday, our resource and community engagement team unveiled the new Family Resource Center bus at All Together Tuesdays at the Oak. The Oak is the old Highland Springs High School. We didn't tear it down, we left it up. The newly delivered Resource Center bus allows us to bring free books and resources directly to children and communities while also visiting schools throughout the school year to support learning and engagement. All Together Tuesdays is a once-a-month event where the division provides food, youth activities. I was just there this past Tuesday. We had dance classes going on. We had resources for families such as what do they have? Vision screening for all the kids. So we've seen kids get free vision screening while they were there. Along with Power School support, our Equity, Diversity, and Opportunity team was on hand as well, along with a host of other vendors such as Henrico Credit Union, where we actually had people opening up bank accounts. So all together Tuesdays at the Oak. It's once a month. You can find that information out on our website, HCPS, Henrico County Public Schools website. Lastly, the Fairfield District recognitions. I do want to do this slide. So in August, Fairfield Middle School was one of 9 HCPS schools named a Virginia Naturally Recognized School by the Department of Wildlife Services. This program is run by the Virginia Department of Wildlife Services that recognizes schools for their efforts to increase environmental literacy. Working with our HCPS Department of Family and Community Engagement, the Glen Lee Elementary Telehealth Clinic was named a 2024 National Association of Counties Achievement Award winner, one of 22 HCPS awards this year. And Henrico High School has just been designated Heart Safe through Project Adam, affiliated with VCU. This program focuses on making sure schools are prepared for sudden cardiac arrest. I do want to point out, Pastor Cooper, just bear with me, Glen Lee Telehealth Clinic is game changing. It's an actual clinic inside of the elementary school. When your child gets sick, they go to the clinic, we move them into another room, and VCU pediatricians will come on the screen and treat them right there. And we can test for strep, flu, COVID, but they get seen right there. And the most important thing is they get to stay in school. And that's really big. Parents don't have to take off. They can stay in school. They can get prescriptions written. So this is one of a kind. Nobody else has done this in the county. And we just did another one at Fairfield Middle School that we're trying to get up and running right now. So this is going to be game changing for a lot of schools. I did have one more slide. All right. Now, finally, as I wrap up, I just want to stress the importance of daily student attendance at school. Learning happens in every classroom in Henrico every day from pre-K through 12th grade. It is essential that students are in school and ready to learn. We are asking for your partnership in making sure students are getting enough sleep, eating a healthy breakfast, and getting to school on time. Research shows that students who attend school regularly are better readers, more proficient in math, and more likely to graduate from high school and college. Let's work together to make this your child's best and most successful school year. And I would like to thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. I will not take questions, but I will be here. Oh, they didn't cut my picture off. Oh, that's okay. All right. But I will be here for about 5 or 10 minutes. If you have any specific questions to schools, I'll be right over here if you want to come out and reach me. Thank you, Pastor Cooper.
Thank you so much, Mr. Young. I want to recognize Mr. Keith Westbrook in the back. He is the legislative assistant to Senator Lamont Bagby. Can we welcome him to Fairfield? Thank you so much, Keith. And so if there's anything that you have a question from our state Senate, our representative is here, Mr. Westbrook. He'll be more than happy to share that on behalf of Senator Lamont Bagby. Come on.
I'm going to be really, really quick. This is very on the fly because you guys have so many questions and concerns about pedestrian safety, and they're all valid and they're amazing. I really just wanted to come up and kind of reassure and also let you know how big of a priority this is to multiple agencies within the county. Just this week, this keeps coming up because we know we keep having it happen. We're really trying to figure out how we can help that issue. So first, you know about the WOA vests. Those are amazing. Please take them. Take multiple if you have people you know that would want them. We want to get those out. We just did an order of 20,000. So we have them. Please take them. We want them out in the community. I get so happy when I'm driving around and I see someone wearing it. You have no idea. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. Todd, you're right here from Public Works. We have the draft bike plan, so that's going up the next, 5 years of bike lanes that are going up around the county. They just worked on the draft sidewalk plan, and I don't think that's fully approved yet, but that's something that is in the works of sidewalks going on all over the county. So I want you to just be reassured that these are all things that are being discussed, that are actively being planned. We also have Arrive Alive in addition to WOA. That is from state funding. So if you look up Arrive Alive Henrico, that's our version. The state funding program is called Safe Streets for All. We took public feedback back in the spring, early summer. We are currently in the process of putting together the full action plan of all that is just safety for drivers, for pedestrians, for anyone on the road. And the action plan should be done hopefully this winter, and then we'll be going into the next phase of that project. So keep an eye out for that. We already took the public feedback, but the action plan, and what's great about that is our action plan does not come from taxpayer funds. That's getting federally, right? Federal grant money in order to do the items on that action plan. Sorry, I did notes on my phone because this was very on the fly. Keep an eye out. We're doing some upcoming media partnerships. We're really trying to do some education, especially for pedestrians, on how to keep yourself safe. Yes, we need to make sure the drivers are being safe too, but ultimately, we all know that in the battle, the car is going to win. So we want to make sure that the pedestrians are doing what they can to also keep themselves safe. October is Pedestrian Safety Month, so keep an eye out on all of our Facebook pages, on all of our Twitter accounts. Word on the street's gonna be big in October because we're really gonna try to drive that point home. We're really working on trying to come up with all of these new ideas of how to get this word out and how to keep you guys safe. We're brainstorming right now. Our board is coming down on us in a brilliant way, saying, what can we do? What can we do to help everyone in our county stay safe and stop these pedestrian fatalities from happening? So keep an eye out because none of this is, we're still brainstorming and planning all of this, and I want to hear from you guys. So if you message the Facebook and Twitter page, that's me. If you email the word on the street back whenever you get that, that's me. If you want my card, you can email me. You can do whatever you'd like. I'd love to hear from you. But I just came up with this right now, my first little brainstorming thing. Here's what I want every single person in this room to do. When you go home tonight, I want every single person to find 5 people and tell them to please be visible when they're walking around at night. Wearing all black means the car cannot see you. And that's so big when it comes to these pedestrian safety tips. I mean, we can tell the drivers to be a perfect driver all day long, but the fact of the matter is if they can't see you, they can't see you. So that's my little spiel for the day. Please tell 5 people that they have to be visible, and all of us can try to stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. I want to thank all of our special guests. Can we just give them all a round of applause again? Thank you so much for the information. Many of them are still here. I want to remind you all that our next Board of Supervisor meeting is September the 24th at 6 p.m. You can be present in person, but always you can watch us live online, as well as you can participate and ask questions as well. We love your feedback because your feedback is what we love to respond to and hopefully implement some great ideas. And also on the way out on the sign-in table, there are cards. You can get in contact with me. I'm available. I'm here for you. I want to hear from you, and if you need me, I'm available. So thank you all again for your time, which I know is important. Have a great night, everybody.